And now we will leave to Professor Cheikh Babou, and Imam Bashir Law will introduce him.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are going to introduce Professor Babou. Professor Anta Babou holds a doctoral degree in African history from Michigan State University. His PhD dissertation focused on Ahmadu Bamba and the founding of the Murid, the history of a Muslim brotherhood in Senegal, 1853-1913. He joined the History Department of the University of Pennsylvania in July 2002 and is currently an assistant professor. Dr. Babou teaches African history and the history of Islam in Africa. His research focuses on Francophone West Africa from 19th century and the contemporary African diaspora in France and United States. Professor Babou published academic articles on the history of Muridia and the development of the Murid immigrant community in New York. He recently published Fighting the Greedy Jihad, where he explores the founding and development of the Brotherhood and a biographical study of its founder. Professor Babou also attended Anta University, where he completed his bachelor and his master's in history. We would like to welcome Dr. Babou.
Thank you very much, Imam Sheikh Bashir. For the sake of time, I think we have something like 50 minutes left for 2 lectures. I hope I will be as successful as Muhammad in summarizing. But what we'll try to do is to perhaps take, say, 20 minutes to complete the lecture. You'll forgive me for the unwieldiness because I was not prepared to make a summary on the fly. My topic of today is the youth in the teaching and practices of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba, lessons and obligation for future generations. I would like to start by extending my greetings to all of our brothers and sisters present here. And I would like to particularly recognize Serigne Mamor Mbake and all those who from around the world are gathered here at the headquarters of the United Nations and on the internet to commemorate the 20th anniversary of Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba Day in New York City. This year, the Cultural Commission of the Murid Islamic Community in North America has asked me to entertain you about the youth in Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba's teaching and practices. This is an important and timely subject. In this era of globalization, with the velocity and intensity of cultural transaction in a world dominated by materialism and Western values, many are concerned about our ability to protect and expand positive religious and cultural values. In this struggle, the youth are the key because they represent the future of any society. They are the seeds from which societies are made. A community's destiny is intimately linked to the quality of its youth. Sheikh Ahmadu Bamba understood this. His writings, sermons, and letters are replete with counsels, admonitions, and warnings to the youth. I can say with much confidence that his life as a whole constitutes an open book dedicated to guiding the younger generation through the right path. what I like to do in the next few minutes is to open this book, that is Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's life, to you and read with you and highlight some chapters to draw lessons from and to learn from. I will look at Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's life as a family man, as a guide and as a thinker, to analyze how he dealt with some of the issues that are facing the youth today. And then I will offer my reflections on the challenges confronting us as youth, but also as parents and guides. The talk is divided into two major sections. In the first section, I explore Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's philosophy and practices regarding the youth, and by stressing the principles and ideals that shapes his teachings. In the second section, I turn to our generation, especially those of us living in the diaspora, to explore our struggles, obligations, and responsibilities vis-à-vis the youth. We cannot understand Ahmadou Bamba's teachings about the youth without first understanding the teachings of Islam about the youth, because nothing that Ahmadou Bamba say or do differentiate from what Sunnah and Al-Quran and Sharia says. So we need then to be grounded a little bit. I will not expand on this because of the sake of time, but I just would like to highlight some of the rights and obligations of youth in Islam before I get to how Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba actually practices those principles and teaching of Islam. We know that for Islam, the right for the youth start even before conception. The place of the youth in Islam can be gauged by the paramount importance given to the institution of marriage. Prophet Muhammad said, marriage is the half of faith. Legislation about marriage and family law constitutes perhaps one of the richest, most detailed, and most influential area of fiqh and the Sharia. The famed medieval thinker Al-Amid Al-Ghazali, who, as you know, had major influence on Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, in his famous book Ihya Ulumuddin, ascribed three major objectives to marriage. First, to protect from what is unlawful. Second, to procreate a virtuous offspring. And third, to perpetuate the Islamic nation. Ghazali then seems to consider the institution of marriage as the key instrument to making a society. So the first right then for a child is a good mother. And the first obligation for a parent, whether a husband or a wife, is to select a good partner. This is understandable because our perception of the world and our understanding and adoption of social values are mediated by our parents and neighbors. We mimic the behavior around us, and only gradually do we build our own based on that foundation. The Muslim adult, whether female or male, is enjoined to carefully then vet his partner. He is warned not to put beauty, wealth, or fame over faith and virtue. In this regard, Islam and African society equally recognize a central role to the mother. Ghazali insists on the necessity to always marry a woman with a noble character. And as we know in our tradition, liggéeyu ndey añub doom. Then the first right is the right to a good mother. The second right is the right to a good name. And here I will just quote one hadith from the Prophet ﷺ when he said, the day of judgment you are called by your first name, therefore be mindful of the name you give to your child. The fourth right I would like to talk about a little bit is the right to education. But perhaps from the Islamic perspective, the most important right of the youth and obligation for the parents after satisfying the biological needs of your child, that is food, shelter, healthcare, is education. The study and transmission of knowledge have always been at the heart of Islamic tradition. Islam is a religion of the book and a religion of commentary. And most Muslims regard religious studies as a form of worship. For all of these reasons, then the transmission of religious learning lay at the heart of Muslim civilization, and its support was incumbent on all who aspire to social and political leadership. Then we have also the right to trust and to give responsibility to your youth. This progress that Islam was able to make in education and in the sciences, especially from the 6th to the 12th century, was due mostly to the fact that actually Islam trusted the youth and Islam looked to the future rather than the past. And the example I can give you here is examples you all know. And here we have, for example, the example of Ali ibn Abi Talib, whom all of us know, Zayd bin Thabit, that all of us know, and all of them were very young when they became secretaries of Prophet Muhammad, and later on these two persons will be central to the collection and publication of the Quran. This was possible because Islam gave trust and responsibility to those young men who worked with Prophet Muhammad, and that we should thank now, because it's because of their work that we are able now to read the Quran and to understand the teaching of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, I will skip a lot of the things that I wanted to talk about because of the sake of time, and I now would like to turn back to Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba and look a little bit at how Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba actually took those principles that I talk about briefly and turned them into practices and into pedagogy that he used to educate his own sons and daughters, but also the Murid community as a whole. Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's life really epitomizes some of the Islamic principles and prophetic practices that I just outlined. So what is going to follow is an effort to show how these Islamic teachings were translated in practices by Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. We all know the family of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba. He comes from a very honorable, learned family. In all of his lineages, what we see is families of Doomi Soxna. We see Mbake, we see Buso, we see Sil, we see Job, we see Fal, and we see Jakhate, of course. And all those traditions, those peoples are known to be members of well-known Islamic families that have a long tradition of teaching Islam to people around Bawal and Kajor. And if you look, for example, and those of you who are interested in knowing more about this can look at my book, Fighting the Great Jihad, in which I talk more extensively about this. If you look, for example, Lo, of course, you said Kulim Jum, then you can look at the genealogy of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, his wives, his sons, and all of that will show you how he fulfilled that principle of choosing good mother and good father for your children. The second is the names. Look at Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's sons' names. All of them are Muhammad. All of them are name of Allah, name derived from the history of Islam and the tradition of Islam. There is no Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba's son or daughter who has a name which will not make you stand up and return to God if you hear those names. So he also fulfilled then that principle of giving your son and daughters names that are revered and names that are respected in Islam. What about teaching? The teaching of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, he was extremely severe to his sons. Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba did not have really the time to teach anybody. We know about his history. We know that from 1895, he never had the time to do things by himself. Either he was in exile or he was in house arrest. So he never had the luxury that we have today as parents, to groom our children, to educate our children in the manner that we want. Despite that, wherever he went, he opened a school. And what I'm saying here is a testimony coming from the colonial people that certainly didn't like him and certainly did not want to do anything positive about him. But look at the archive. Everywhere what you see is wherever Ahmadou Bamba go, he opens a school. He opened a school in Mauritania. He opened, perhaps in Gabon. I don't know about Gabon a lot. It's a history that is not very clear. But go to Mauritania, go to Diourbel, go to Mbake, go to Cheikh. Wherever he went, he opened a school. And he did not only educate his son in the formal manner, that is, teaching them the Quran. He also applied adab to them, that is, correcting their behavior on a day-to-day basis. And of course, we know a lot of anecdote about that. Sheikh Bashir, for example, somewhere said that one day he was near Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, somebody sneezed. He sneezed, I think, and somebody said, Yahramukallah. And then Sheikh Bashir did not say anything. And Sayyid Tuba call him and tell him, when somebody say to you, Yahramukallah, you need to respond, Yahfirullah wa lana wa lakum. You need to return the prayer to him. People also give us a lot of examples. For example, the example of Sokhna May Kabir. One day, Cheikh Sidiya Babou was visiting. At the time, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba was in Jurbel. When Cheikh Sidiya Baba came, Sokhna May Kabir presented his Kamil that he wrote, the book. She also prepared all the food for the day. And since Sheikh Sidiya Baba used to tell Serigne Touba, look at my daughters, how educated they are, how they understand the Quran. And what Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba wanted to show him that day was, well, my daughters are writing Quran, but yet my daughters are good mothers too. And they are good wives too. They know the Quran, but also they know to cook a good chere, and they know to entertain my guests. So it's also a way of educating his daughters and his sons. But as we all know, Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba was not only the educator of a few.